Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
You made it through problems 1 through 8, which weren't bad. But now we are going to continue the January 2024 Algebra 2 Regents exam, and we're going to do multiple choice problems 9 through 16. And just a reminder, all of these are worth 2 points each, all 24 multiple choice questions. You do not get partial credit. You either get the 2 points or you don't. I really like 9. I like focus, directrix, vertex, form of a parabola. To me, they're not that difficult. And if you know what you're doing, they're not that difficult at all. But I guess that goes with anything. So let's just start. 9, the equation of the parabola that has a focus at -3, 2, and has a directrix at y equals 0 is, okay, then we got to come up with the equation of the line. So the first thing you need to do, and you can eliminate 2 of these possible answers, is you know that between the vertex, the focus, and the directrix, the vertex is always in the middle, always. So if I were to sketch this thing out, okay, -1, -2, -3, 1, 2. Okay, if my focus is right here, the focus is at -3, 2. And the directrix is right on the line where y equals 0. That's the x-axis. This is my directrix at y equals 0. My vertex is right in between them, right here. That's the vertex. Okay, that's at the point. It's still -3, but now it's at 1. And how do I know that's right in between them? Well, I mean, guys, from here to here, it's 2. I go up 2, right? The y is at 2 here, and it starts at 0. So I split the difference. Okay, that means I would go, let me just do it this way. Come on, keep on trucking. We're almost there. Which means I really go up 1, and I go down 1 from the vertex. I go up 1 to get to the focus, and I go down 1 to get to the directrix. So there you go. So I said we can now eliminate 2 of these. The vertex is the h and k in my equation. So y equals some number a times x minus h squared plus k. I have my h and k, so it's x minus a -3 squared, because of the -3 from here, plus 1, because I get the 1 right there. So whenever I subtract a negative, it's like adding. So I don't know what my A is yet. Okay, that's the big mystery. But I should have a +3 in parentheses and +1. Choice 2 is a -3. Choice 4 is a -3. Okay, so 1 and 3 both have the +3 and +1. So the only difference right here is my A value. So how do I figure out the A value? Well, I'm glad you asked, kids, because it's simple. A is 1 over 4c. Now you're like, Visca, you just defined a variable using another variable. C is the distance from the vertex to the focus. You see how I went up 1? A positive 1. If I was going down, it would be negative. But I went up 1, so C is 1. It's the distance from the vertex to the focus. C is 1, and now that means 1/4. So this number in front here needs to be 1/4. It's not 1/8, it's 1/4. So number 9, the answer is 1. Number 10 can be tricky. The 7th term of the geometric sequence, radical 6, -2 radical 3, 2 radical 6, -4 radical 3 is. First of all, they give us 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. We need the 7th, so I need to go out 3 more terms. So I have radical 6. I'm going to rewrite this. -2 radical 3, 2 radical 6, -4 radical 3. This is term 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 5, 6. I need the 7th term. Okay? The problem is It's geometric, which is a help. That means I'm multiplying. There's a common factor. As I go from one term to the next, I'm multiplying. First things first, please note this is a positive, this is a negative. Then it goes to positive, then negative. So whatever my common factor is, whatever it is that I'm multiplying to get from the first to the next, okay, it's going to be negative because the sign keeps flipping. I think the easiest way is, how do I go from 2 radical 3 to 2 radical 6? I multiply it times radical 2. And in fact, it went from negative to positive, so it's going to be negative radical 2. And I'm going to find that if I multiply each term times negative radical 2, I get to the next term. So you might say to yourself, Visca, how do I take radical 6 and multiply it times negative radical 2 and end up with this right here? Because I have to simplify. Okay, I can multiply and I get negative radical 12. Well, radical 12, keep the negative, is radical 4 times radical 3. And radical 4 is 2. So it's negative 2 radical 3. So it does work. So I can keep on multiplying each one of these times a negative radical 2. I can multiply this fourth term times negative radical 2 and get the fifth term, and vice versa. But I think then I got to keep on simplifying and whatnot. So, I mean, let's go ahead and do it. Why not? Okay, let's now multiply this term times negative radical 2. A negative times a negative is positive. It's going to be 4 radical 2 times radical 3 is radical 6. I got to do it again. Okay, now this time I'm multiplying it by a negative radical 2. So a positive times a negative is negative. And I end up with negative 4 radical 12. Didn't we just say radical 12 is 2 radical 3? It's negative 4 times 2 radical 3. If I multiply these two, I get negative 8 radical 3. And I got to do it one more time to get to my seventh term, times a negative radical 2. A negative times a negative is positive. I get 8 radical 2 times radical 3 is radical 6. So there's my answer, choice 3. Now, if you're like, whoa, Visca, whoa, I would not have been able to multiply it times a negative radical 2. What I could have done is I could have used a formula, okay, for geometric sequence to find my term. So I will go over that really briefly. To find any term n, I take my first term. My first term is the square root of 6. Yep, that's a 6, kids. Times my common ratio. I am multiplying these all times a negative radical 2. That's my common ratio. And I raise that to the n minus 1. So if I want to find the seventh term, I'll take radical 6, multiply it times negative radical 2 to the 7 minus 1. Okay? I can put this in the calculator. It's 7 minus 1. If you want, you can just make that a 6. But we'll just leave it 7 minus 1. We'll put it in the calculator just like that. Oh, spinning death. There we go. Turn this on. Quit this. And I've got the square root of 6 times negative square root of 2 raised to the 7 minus 1. Now, this is going to give you some sort of decimal. All I need to do is figure out which one of the multiple choice problems or solutions they gave me, which is equal to 19.59. And we said it's choice 3, right? So it should be 8 times the square root of 6. And if I hit enter, not plus, if I hit enter, yeah, okay, I should do the square root of 6, not 9, huh? Guys, Mr. Visca's having a tough day. And there you go. There's your 19.95, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So there we go. Okay, the blue highlight is the explicit formula with N7, and that's choice 3. You see that they are the same. All right, so let me just move this right here for the next time we need it. And the answer is choice 3. Simple. It takes more effort to read number 11 than it does to actually do number 11. A company wishes to determine the cooking time for 1 pound of spaghetti. All right. The company's technicians cooked 1 pound of spaghetti and recorded the time needed for the spaghetti to be ready to eat. Repeating this process 35 times resulted in an approximate normal distribution with a mean of 9.82, okay, a standard deviation of 1.4. Which interval could which could represent the middle 95%? That's the moneymaker. That is my mean plus or minus 2 times my standard deviation. My mean is 9.82. I'm going to add 2 times my standard deviation, which is 1.4. And then I'm going to do that and subtract. Those two numbers that's the interval. Guys, it really is just quite that simple. Let's clear this out. 9 point, yep, let's clear this out. 9.82. We'll start with plus. Nah, screw it. Let's be creative and start with minus. 2 times my standard deviation. And then I got to do the same thing. I'm going to get lazy, and I'm just going to change that to a plus. There it is. Bam. So, yeah, you every time. Every time you. Every time. Okay, I could have swore I just did this. There you go. So my standard deviation should go from the low end is 7.02 to 12.62. Look at us go. Yay. Number 12. Given that f of x is 2x squared plus 7x minus 15, and g of x is 3 minus 2x, what is f of x divided by g of x? I can try and factor and reduce this, or I can divide this out. So it's 2x squared plus 7x minus 15 divided by, I'm going to write the negative 2x first, negative 2x, and that's a positive 3. I'm going to do, for the first video, numbers 1 through 8, there was a division problem, and I did synthetic division. That's because the number in front of my x in the bottom, that's weird. The number in front of my x at the bottom was a 1. This is not a 1, it's a negative 2. So I'm going to use reverse tabular. Negative 2x and a 3. Those are going to be the two values on the right side of my rectangle, so I split those in half. And I see I'm not missing a term on the top or the bottom. What does that mean? My biggest exponent is a 2, and then I should go just right down the row. The next one should be 1. This technically has 0 x's. 2, 1, 0, good. If I go right down, starting from my degree or my biggest exponent, and I'm missing 1 along the way, I have to represent that with a 0. But we're good here. So what does this tell me? My first term comes out of this corner right here. That's 2x squared. My next term comes out of this corner right here. That's 7x. I have one more term, negative 15. I need one more corner, so I draw one line to have that corner. So this one here comes out of this corner. It's negative 15. And I always start in the top left. This has to be 2x squared. That's the only thing that outputs this. So what do I multiply? Negative 2x, so that I get negative 2x squared, well, negative x. All right? Now that I found that out, I can take the numbers on the outside always multiply. Negative 3 times, negative x times 3 is negative 3x. The insides always add together. What do I mean? This plus my negative 3x should output the 7x. All right? So what do I add to negative 3x to get me 7x? Well, kids, that is a 10x. So 10x, and I take away 3x gives me 7x. All right? Now I just repeat this cycle. What on the outside am I multiplying negative 2x by to get 10x here? Well, negative 5 times negative 2 is a positive 10. And the great thing is now I can take negative 5 and multiply it times 3 and get negative 15. They're the same, so there's no remainder. So my answer is negative x minus 5. It's choice 1. Now, for some of you that are like, this guy would have much rather try to factor and cancel. Let me move this out, and I will show you how to do that right now. Really unnecessary, but I got to factor the top. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, the top, I do what I like to call slip and slide. I'm going to end up with x plus 5 times 2x minus 3. Boom. Notice that the top and the bottom are the same, except they're flipped. What do I mean? We rewrote the bottom initially. Remember the bottom was 3 minus 2x? If I have two terms that are flipped around the minus sign, you see how the top, it's 2x minus 3, and the bottom, the 3 comes first, then the minus, then the 2x? If I get a situation like that, they still cancel, but it leaves a negative 1, which means there's no more denominator, so I got to distribute this minus 1. Minus 1 times x is negative x. Minus 1 times 5 is negative 5. The answer is still choice 1, but I think division is easier. Number 13 says, which equation is equivalent to p equals 210 times x raised to the 4/3 times y raised to the 7/3? And I have these answers here, and, most of them have a 210 in there. This one does not. So I'm going to focus on this part right here. Okay, I can do nothing with my 210. It has, no exponent to it. I have an x to the 4/3, right? And I have a y to the 7/3. Okay, this is like a top-down, bottom-out situation. What do I mean? This is like, x, this is the cube root of x to the 4th, and this is the cubed root of y to the 7th. Now, I do that because in my class, I explain it this way. I can reduce this. I divide these out. And I know a fraction is division, but I just want to show you this. It's like taking 3 and it goes into 4. 3 goes into 4 once with the remainder of 1. So what that tells me is 1x actually comes out of the radical. Okay, I have a cubed root radical. The remainder is how many remain. X to the 1 remains in there. That's it. This is what comes out. The remainder is what remains in the radical. We're going to do the same thing with my y. 3 goes into 7 twice with a remainder of 1. So 2 y's are going to come out, or y squared. And left in that cubed root, or radical, is my remainder here. It's 1. I still have this 210 just flopping around on the outside like a wet fish. All right, so now I have 210 on the outside. I have an x on the outside. I have a y squared on the outside. So what is left in my cubed root? X to the 1 and a y to the 1. This is my answer right here. They don't have parentheses, but, oh, look at that. 210 x, y squared on the outside. In the cubed root, O is an x and a y. An x and a y. Choice 3. You're welcome. Number 14, don't freak out. We're going to do this strictly in the calculator. The average cost of a gallon of milk in the United States between the years 1995 and 2018 can be modeled by this equation. P of t equals negative 0.0004 t cubed plus 0.0114 t squared minus 0.0150 t plus 2.6602, where P of t represents the cost in dollars and t is the time in years since January of 1995. During this period, in what year did P of t reach its maximum? So please know that in my calculator, P is going to be the Y, and T is going to be my X value, okay? Let's say T happens to be 20. 20 isn't listed here. They want to know the year. So T is the year since 1995. So whatever that is, I'm going to add that to 1995 because I want the actual year. All right? So let's get through this thing. And we got to type this in the calculator. Maximum. That right there should tell you, okay, when did the P reach its maximum? So I got to find the biggest Y value, because remember, P is Y. And then I want to know, well, what X value does that occur? So I'm going to find the maximum. It's going to give me a coordinate. I want the X value in that coordinate, because X is T and Y is P, or P of T, however you want to say that. So I've done enough talking. Let's get to the calculator, and let's type this in. I've written down this equation so I don't have to make the room on the screen. Let's clear these out. And I've got negative 0.1230 to the 4, and that's x to the power of 3. Pop off that. I've got plus 0.0114x squared minus 0.0150x. Let's make sure I'm typing these all in correct. I am. Plus 2.6602. I'm going to graph this, and this is a 10 by 10 screen. Now keep in mind that 0, oh boy. Oh, I didn't delete. Look at the bottom here. I'm so silly. I still got that bottom half of that circle there. So let's graph this. Now keep in mind, I only want positive years, right? So I really don't care about the negatives on the x-axis. Notice that, oh boy. Notice that this keeps going up. Okay, it might keep going up afterward. I don't know. I want to see where the highest point this reaches. So I'm going to look at my window, and I want to go further on the x-axis. So let's go to, I don't know, 25. Here you go. It's going to pop down. It's going up, 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 up. Oh, there you go. See, and there's the top. The top is somewhere right around here. Okay? Right there somewhere. Boop. So I'm going to go second, trace, and I want to find my maximum. So I just got to be to the left of my maximum. I am. Then I got to go to the right of it. Come on, you're so slow. You're so slow, Mr. Spider. And I hit enter. And then if you look at the bottom, it says, do you want me to guess? Yeah, I hit enter one more time. 18 and 3.75. So, oh, every time I bring that off the screen. Okay, so at this point, I have the coordinates. 18.3, we'll call it, as my x, and 3.75. So this is going to be the cost, the highest cost we have. This is the number of years since 1995. There it is, since 1995. So if they're looking for the year, I've got to add this to 1995. What I don't like about this problem, children, is the following. That would give me 0.3310, 2013.3. Here's what I don't like about this problem. This means, oh, a lot of times we talk to kids about years. We say, this means the year 2013 is done. And you are 0.3 into the year 2014. The answer is not 2014. It's 2013. How come? Because this is January 1995. So this 18 years would technically be January 2013. And then point 0.3 of a year, a third of a year, I don't know, another 4 months maybe, would still be in the year 20. That would be, if I add 4 months, that would be what? Month 5? So it'd be May sometime, still in 2013. I really dislike that they did that to you. So you're kind of like, I don't want to say you're rounding down, because this is January of 2013 and we add a little bit. We don't quite get to 2014 yet. That just strikes confusion in the hearts of all students. The answer's choice 2. Whew, and off that complicated problem, on to number 15. That looks like it's complicated because we have Euclid's number, or is that it's Euler's number? Or one of them. E raised to the 0.4. The temperature F in degrees Fahrenheit after T hours of a roast put into an oven is given by the equation F equals 325 minus 185 E raised to the negative 0.4 T. What was the temperature of the roast when it was first put in? This here tells me, it doesn't say the word first, but when the roast, when it was put into the oven, that's right at the start. That's when we're beginning. We always begin when time is 0. That represents the start. So all I've literally, kids, quite literally, all I've got to do is put in a 0 for my time exponent and then put it in the calculator. So in the calculator, my Fahrenheit degrees is going to equal 325 minus 185 e to the negative 0.4 times a time of 0. That represents the beginning. So I'm going to take this part and literally put it in the calculator. Got this. We want this screen here. Let's quit here. And we're going to take 325 minus 185. E is above the division sign in blue. Or you could do above the ln where it puts the exponent for you. That's the only difference between what's above ln and what's above blue. Negative 0.4 times 0. That's the answer, 140. 140. Choice 4. I told you 15 was easy. All right, let's get done, kids. The roots of the equation. 0 equals x squared plus 6x plus 10. In simplest a plus bi form is, don't sit here and say, well, roots are x-intercepts, right? So I can graph it. You see how there's an I here, kids? That means it is not going to touch the x-axis at all. They are imaginary, which means I absolutely need to use the quadratic formula. All right, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I've just got to figure out what's my a, what's my b, and what's my c. My a, that's a 1, kids. If that x squared is there by itself, that's a 1. That's my a. My b is a positive 6, and my c is going to be 10. All right, my b is a positive 6. That's my b. And my c is a 10. So the C is going to go here, the 10. The B is going to go in 2 spots. Always use parentheses. And my A is going to go right down here. So let's start doing some math. Okay? Sorry, you can't avoid it here. We have negative B, which is 1. Yep, I'll be okay. That's a 6. I was looking at my A value. Plus or minus the square root of B, which is 6, squared minus 4 times my a, which is 1, times my c, which is 10. Okay, and I just realized a is in 2 spots. Well, I've known it's always there. I just realized I didn't highlight the second spot. And that's all over 2 times my a, which is 1. All right. I negate the 6, it's negative 6. Plus or minus. Can't just put the square root there. You got to plus or minus the square root. All right. 6 squared is 36. You can put this in your calculator. Minus 4 times 10 is 40. 36 minus 40. Is that negative 4? And for those of you, I mean, I kind of know it's negative 4, but a lot of you people like to see it in a calculator. So I'm going to say 36 minus, no, let's do this, 6 squared minus. Now, this is only under the radical. I'm not putting the radical over it. This is only what's under the radical. 4 times 1 times 10. Negative 4. Okay, so if you want to check your work like that, it's negative 4 all over 2 times 1 is 2. But we don't have that. There's going to be some simplification here. If you don't remember, okay, I have a negative 4 underneath the square root. The negative pops out and becomes an I. The square root of 4 is 2. 2, and then I have my I, so that's 2I. This will be replaced by 2I, negative 6 plus or minus 2I, all over 2. When everything's all over 2, that's like the same thing as saying this is over 2 and this is over 2. Everything's over 2. This is easy. That's negative 3 plus or minus the 2's cancel, and I just have my I. There you go. Choice 3. And we are now done with the second video, multiple choice problems 9 through 16. And I will see you for the third video, which we will finish the multiple choice. Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.